A very good morning to all of you. In today's lecture, we shall be talking about Bhalchandra Nemade first. This is your unit number 3.1 rather, means chapter 1 of 3, unit number 3, wherein we shall be talking about two Marathi writers. One is actually writer come critic, that is Bhalchandra Nemade, and the next one is the Marathi critic, uh, Patankar. Let us get first of all introduced with Bhalchandra Nemade before we study his essay. Bhalchandra Nemade was born in 1938, and as I mentioned earlier, he is an Indian Marathi language writer, poet, critic, and linguistic scholar. Yes, if you go through Nemade's profile, you will really get inspired because he taught English. He was a teacher of English at different universities. He started his career with actually not career, writing career indeed, with his debut novel Kosla, which has been translated in many languages. Okay, so this particular novel brought him new dimensions. He rather brought, actually, we can say, new dimension to the world of Marathi literature, which was further followed by his novels like Who Bidar, Who Jarila, and Jhul. I have read almost all these novels. They are really very fascinating. And in 2003, recently, he published his very great work titled Hindu जगण्याची समृद्ध अडगळ, which is actually considered to be his masterpiece. He is the recipient of the Sahitya Academy Award, as well as he has also got Gyanpith Award. You might be knowing Gyanpith is the highest literary honor in India. Further, he was awarded the Padma Shri in 2013. So we came to know about his birth. He was born on 27th May 1938 in the village named Sangvi. Actually, it is in Jalgaon, the Khandesh region of Maharashtra. He matriculated from there and then he moved to Pune. And he did his BA from Ferguson College. And further, he did his MA in linguistics from Deccan College, Pune. Okay, and further, he did his MA in English from the Mumbai University or Bombay University. So he has done his MA in linguistics and MA in English literature. Two MAs. You people can also think of doing your MA in linguistics from Deccan College. Those who are interested in doing it. He received his PhD and even Doctor of Literature, DLET degrees from Jalgaon University, North Maharashtra. Now it is known as Bhainabai Chaudhary, North Maharashtra University, Uttar Maharashtra Vidyapith, Jalgaon. Uh, he worked as a college teacher in several parts of Maharashtra. If you read his Kosla, Bidar, Jhul, Hool, etc., you will come to know. He worked in Aurangabad at Saraswati College and other such colleges. Then he spent a year in London teaching Marathi at the School of Oriental and African Study, that is SOAS. It's a very famous school. So there he taught Marathi. From 1973 to 1986, he taught English at Marathwada University, Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar Marathwada University now. in Aurangabad. Then in 1987, he was appointed as professor and head Department of English at Goa University. After that, in 1991, he joined Mumbai University, from where he retired actually at the Gurudev Tagore Chair for Comparative Literature Studies. I had met him in the year 2011 at Baroda at one of the conferences. I have a very good experience with him. Actually, I spent time with him moving around Baroda. Three of us were there. Bhalchandra Nemade, then that what is his name? Sadanand More. He's one of the famous Marathi philosopher and critic. Tukaram's, he has belongs to Tukaram, Sant Tukaram's family. So I had an opportunity, a luck to spend time with these two people. I found them very interesting. We had a cup of tea and all. I actually rather we moved around Baroda city, old Baroda. Okay, so he edited during 1960s languages in the year 1963. It is translated as cocoon in English. And it is a fictitious autobiographical novel of a protagonist named Pandurang Sangvikar, who is a youth from rural Maharashtra and who studies in a college in Pune. Of course, it is loosely based on Nemade's own life during his youth. Sangvikar is the narrator in Kosla. Actually, this particular novel uh, has an inspiration from, I forgot the name now, The Catcher in the Rye, the novel. I forgot the writer. If you remember, you can tell me. Yeah, J.D. Salinger, The Catcher in the Rye. Okay, so Kosla is a very famous first novel by Nemade, in which he depicts the life of the youth named Pandurang Sangvikar. It is a kind of chronicle autobiographical narration, because later as well he wrote the works like Bidar, etc. But the protagonist changes in those works. In the first work, the protagonist is Pandurang Sangvikar, who describes one year in his life in the form of a witty diary. So he uses this narrative technique, this particular innovative technique, as another narrative technique. The narration describes historical investigation undertaken by Sangvikar and his friend Suresh Bapad. And this investigation uncover to them the absurdity and tragedy of their present condition. So this is what we understand in its Kosla. This, as I mentioned earlier, this book has been translated into several Indian languages, including English, Hindi, Gujarati, Kannada, Assami, Punjabi, Bengali, Urdu, Odia, etc. And after this work, he actually came up with a different protagonist, Sangdev Patil, in his next four novels, Bidhar, Pool, Zarila, and Zoo. All these books are available in a library. And then he came up with a kind of tetralogy, uh, which begins with Hindu, जगण्याची समृद्ध अडगळ in 2010. And in this book, Khanderao is the protagonist. He the archaeologist in this particular book and the protagonist. Okay. When we think about the difference between Pandurang Sangvikar and Changdev Patil, they are not confined at just their age, you can say, profession, habit, and intellectual and emotional perception. Means we can't simply define them in terms of their age, profession, habits, and intellectual and emotional perception. Means Sangvikar at times keep the world at bay. He is a youth and even rejects the world. Whereas Patil, Changdev Patil, is all for the world. So that is the basic difference. And is forever engaged in confronting and understanding the world. Okay, so Sangvikar is very mercurial, whereas Patil is more realistic. When we talk about Khanderao, his consciousness moves across 5,000 years to Indus Valley culture. Okay, means Vedas, Upanishads, etc. So it is a combination of all these mm, Hindu works. So he is especially known for his Deshivad, nativism. Nativism is a very prominent theory in Marathi literature. This theory negates globalization or internalization, and it asserts the value of writers' native heritage. This particular theory indicates that Marathi literature should try to revive its native base. Okay, that is what is very important. Therefore, it is called Desiva. Throughout this essay, you will understand the same. And further, it explodes. Means actually, he explores the indigenous sources, the way Marathi literature evolved by referring to these sources, and he tries to trace out the base. He actually disliked his contemporaries. He antagonized his contemporaries with an argument that the short story is a genre inferior to that of the novel. The same thing you will come to know in his essay, Marathi novel from 1950 to 1975. He owned, and we already understood that he got Jnanpith Award or Gyanpith Award in the year 2015. And he was the fourth such person to receive this award, apart from V.S. Khandekar, etc. And he is also the winner of Sahitya Academy and Padma Shri. We understood that. Uh, so these are some of his. Actually, we have already come to know about his novels. He has written two collections of poetry as well, namely Melody and Dekhri. And he is also well known for his criticism, especially Tika Sanyogar, साहित्याची भाषा, तुकाराम, the influence of English and Marathi, Indo-Anglian writing, two lectures, Marathi for beginners, Marathi reading course, निवडक uh, मुलकाती, मुलाखती, very sorry, मुलाखती, then Sola, what is this? Sola Bhasne. Okay, I don't know exactly what it is. Then Bhasne, Sola Bhasne. Then nativism. How much space does an Indian writer need? So these are some of his works of criticism. And the present essay that you are going to study was published in Marathi itself in Setu, the magazine. And this essay is translated by the very famous, Indian critic and writer G.N. Devi, that is Ganesh Devi, as this Marathi novel from 1950 to 1975. It was originally written in Marathi. Okay, now let's go ahead with the next part of our discussion.